Welcome to the Clemson Insider. I'm Will Vandervoort. This is Gavin Oliver. This is Tiger Talk as we get you ready for the Clemson at Boston College game this Saturday at 7:30 in Death Valley. Homecoming. Gavin, you're a Clemson grad, so homecoming. So what are you doing for homecoming?
I'll be working with TCI. and leading up to homecoming week, I'll also be working with TCI.
So that's what you're doing for homecoming week.
Yeah.
But still, though, as a Clemson grad, it's like a special kind of week for you, right?
Yeah, it's cool to see all the the homecoming floats and the pageantry and all, everybody gets all excited for it. But it's definitely different when you're working. I mean, you don't really get caught up in all that. But and when I was in college, I was also interning and working.
You were
and doing my thing. So I never really got caught up back then either, but it's cool. Yeah.
What we learned from this is Gavin works a lot, and he likes to work, which is good because we all work a lot, and we're it's kind of a thing that we enjoy doing what we do, so it's fun to do.
But yeah, when I was a little kid, I grew up around Clemson, and me and my family would go out on Bowman Field and look at all the floats, and it was neat,
Yeah,
cool
I did the same thing. It was always fun for me because my dad was a Clemson cadet, class of '49, and we would come and, he always liked to see how I reacted when I would go see the boats and stuff like that. And always good times, always fun. I always remember it raining. I don't know why it rains on homecoming at Clemson, but it seems like it does. They're calling for rain again this week.
True.
But,
yeah, weird, but true. Yeah.
Yeah, weird, but true. But like Clemson fans are good. They come out. They've always have, even come out and fill the stands up on homecoming. So I'm sure it'll be a great crowd in Death Valley. But they all kind of saying the rain may break on Saturday. So it might be by the time the game just rolls around, it'll be nice and dry and clear skies. So let's hope so.
Yep.
Anyway, though, a lot we talked about this week is we talked about the Clemson players on Monday and Tuesday. We talked to, first of all, Jeff Scott and Brent Venables, as well as several players on Monday. And then on Tuesday, of course, we spoke with Coach Sweeney and then a few Clemson players as well. We're going to start it off with Gavin and with Coach Sweeney, who does what Dabo does, kind of goes on one of his little rants. At least once a week we can count on it. Maybe we set him up for it. I won't lie to you. That might happen. But Gavin, I think William Qualkenbush asked the question today about Coach Sweeney and to Coach Sweeney about maybe Clemson's defense not getting enough love.
Yeah. Dabo went on a little rant, as you said, about Clemson's defense and the preseason expectations, at least from the media narrative about how Clemson's defense was going to be due for major regression after all the losses on defense, particularly in the front seven, 6 starters gone, for the 4 starting defensive linemen and 2 linebackers, and most people expected Clemson's defense to take a big step back this year, and Dabo was aware of that narrative in the media entering the season. But now, when you 7 games into it, when you look back at what Clemson's done so far, I mean, top 10 in points per game allowed, top 10 in total defense, passing defense. I mean, they're also top 10 in sacks and tackles for loss. It's amazing what they've done. But yeah, Dabo was quick to point out that the media has missed the boat, is what he said, or he said that a lot of people have missed the boat on what Clemson's defense has been this year, or what people expected Clemson's defense to be this year. And he just talked about what's helped them get to this point. I mean, they've worked hard to build depth. They've done a great job of utilizing the personnel that they've had, and and just guys like Tyler Davis is one big guy that he really pointed out, singled out today, how much of a blessing, in his words, a blessing it's been to have Tyler Davis come in and emerge the way he has and play a key role in helping replace Dexter Lawrence. And then guys like Xavier Thomas and Justin Foster, Logan Rudolph, KJ Henry and Justin Maskell coming on, helping to replace all the guys that Clemson lost at the end. So, but yeah, it was just funny to talk about, to hear Dabo kind of take a little subtle shot at the media, what people thought, at least what the media expected Clemson's defense to be and what they actually have been to this point.
And of course, that led to more of the rant, and Dabo talked about how, ESPN, all they seem to want to focus on is Trevor Lawrence's interceptions. Every time you turn it on, they show an interception Trevor's thrown, and that was like, he did, throw 3 touchdown passes after that and complete 20 of 29 passes, but they didn't mention that. That wasn't even brought up, or they even showed it, and so Dabo kind of got on to ESPN a little bit, which was good to see, because I think ESPN deserves to be getting on to, is because I think they're kind of stirring that narrative, if you will, that Clemson isn't as good as they were last year, even though Clemson's, I heard somebody again say it the other day, Clemson's, they reminded them of the 2014 Florida State team. And again, I'm like, Where does that come through? That Florida State team could barely win games, and they had players. Jameis Winston was doing what Jameis Winston did back at Florida State, getting suspended and for doing stupid stuff and saying stupid things. And there hasn't been any of that at Clemson, and they've been blowing people out with the exception of one team. So one game has put this narrative out there that Clemson's struggling to win football games. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Once again, Dabo made it clear that he is very pleased with what Clemson's offense has done to this point, despite all the so-called struggles that they've had. At least on what people were saying out there. But yeah, he made it clear. Trevor Lawrence went 20-29 the other day, 230 some yards, 3 touchdowns, but nobody talks about that. They just want to talk about the 2 picks he threw early, and that's kind of what Dabo's point was. But he made it clear that he's very pleased with what they've done to this point offensively, and that he believes they're ahead of what they've done last year in some areas.
And then on Monday, we spoke with Jeff Scott, and Jeff Scott, he's really a guy that he generally toes the company line. He doesn't really kind of go out of that, but he was a little loose on Monday, talking about he was asked ironically by Pete Acabelli, our good friend who writes for the Associated Press, who asked the question about falling in the AP poll, and Jeff said actually that Clemson joked about it on the way back from Louisville on the bus ride to the airport. They actually joked around so we won by 35 points. I guess we're going to fall in the polls this week, and yes, they did. They fell again another spot, as everybody knows, in the AP poll, and it was Jeff Scott was a little disappointed about that. You could tell, not to the point that it bothers them, but the point that it's like they're kind of scratching their head, like what do they got to do to stay up above. And so he talked about it. A couple of players, Trevor Lawrence was asked about it, and he spoke about it. Isaiah Simmons talked about how it just seems like everybody wants to see Clemson fail. That's the kind of way they get out of it. And so it was an interesting afternoon on Brent Venables was asked about. His was the best. And Brent said he personally could care less about any of that. However, he said his daughter, she was very distraught about it, Gavin. He said that she was upset and that he had to talk her off the cliff after she saw the poll on Sunday night. She did not understand why Clemson, fell again in the polls, and why they weren't ranked number 1. So he had to explain it to her, and so the AP poll's starting to hurt children out there. This is getting very bad at the, but. All in all, from all those guys we talked to yesterday, it was pretty much that subject was basically a laughing matter. They took it as a joke, and that's why my headline said, Clemson treats AP poll as a joke. It wasn't a slam at the AP poll. It literally was they were joking about the poll and how they slid to number 4 again.
Yeah, what was the joke Coach Scott made? It was if they keep winning by 30 plus, they'll be out of the top 10 by the end of November or something like that.
Yeah, by the beginning of December.
Yeah, beginning of December. Yeah. So that was pretty funny, and yeah, Coach Venables talked about how Tyler Venables, who's committed to Clemson, going to be playing there in the future, but that he was the same way. He would get all distraught about the AP poll, and that he would have to kind of console him too a little bit. And so there's something about Venables' kids that get all caught up into it until Coach V explains to them that, hey, it doesn't really matter. Like with the rest of the team, that's the way they look at it. It doesn't matter at all to them. I mean, aside from being a joke, it doesn't really matter to them because they know they control what they control. The AP poll has no effect on their performance or what. I mean, as long as they don't let it affect their performance. I mean, it doesn't have to impact them, is what Coach V said. And so they just try to stay in their own lane, focus on what they want to focus on, and at the end of the day, if they keep winning games, it's all going to work out and shake out.
Imagine that Brent Venables' kids are the ones who are emotionally upset. Imagine that. You wouldn't guess that, would you? That I say that sarcastically. But it just wasn't about the AP poll stuff. There was some football talked about, and Clemson's course playing Boston College this week. Running back A.J. Dillon, all preseason ACC first team last year as well. ACC Rookie of the Year, his freshman season. This kid's been running the football as well as anybody consistently the last 3 years. Dabo Sweeney talked about it today. Brent Venables yesterday. That he was asked today. Dabo was asked about do you compare him to like the guys at Florida State that have come through? Are they those kind of backs? And Dabo's like, no, because he like runs over you and runs through you and then hits the opening. He doesn't try to go around you or anything like those guys at Florida State, Cam Akers and those guys. So he's a different kind of back, and it's going to be a very, as Dabo says, it's a big boy. It's a big boy kind of game this week. It's going to be a very physical football game.
For sure. Dabo said he's more along the lines of a James Conner type of back than he is a Dalvin Cook type of back. Because although Dalvin has some strength and power, he's more of a shifty, run around you type of guy. But Dylan's the type of guy that's going to want to run one right through you. He said it'll be a great test for the Clemson defense, especially the guys who are going to go on to play in the NFL in the future. Because Dabo says that A.J. Dillon's the type of guy that they'll see every week on Sundays, and he's definitely the Boston College just going to want to line up and smash mouth type of football. That's the type of football they want to play, and Dillon's the guy that they want to hand the rock to and just let him run right through you if he can. And it's going to be a good test for Clemson.
The funny thing was Brent Venables says that he was watching the film from last year's game Sunday night, and he says he noticed all the big butts right in front, on the other side of the ball, and of course those big butts were Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, Cleveland Farrell, and Austin Bryant's big butts. And he says, man, I was envious. He said he forgot how well he had it during those times. Those guys were there.
And I mentioned earlier just how good Clemson has been defensively, top 10, a bunch of categories, total defense, scoring defense, and sacks, tackles for loss. The one that they are not in the top 10 is they're 25th, I believe, in rushing defense.
That's right.
So this will be a really good test to see if they can stop the run this week.
It's going to be a big, big test because, as he mentioned, he doesn't have those big boys in the middle. And he talked about how those guys would move the line of scrimmage and how, that was a big advantage for them. That now, he did talk about how, the guys are doing a better job than what he initially thought they would at the beginning of the year because he was very concerned about the front four. But he talked about, as you mentioned, Tyler Davis and the job he's doing this year. Niles Pigney had his best game last week, Dabo Swinney said. And so they're kind of getting better up front. And you're starting to see Clemson play more of a base 4-3 than it did at the beginning of the year. And I think that's probably part of it. But there's no doubt this is going to be the biggest challenge on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Boston College is not as good defensively as they have been in years past. But they still play hard, and they still like to punch you in the mouth, and they're going to continue to punch you in the mouth, and that's kind of what they want to do, right?
Yeah, that's their MO, physicality, bruising, just want to line up and hit you. They're not going to try to be cute on offense and things like that. They're just going to want to line up and smack you, and that's the way they're going to try to get after you each week, and there's no secret about it. They're just going to try to out-physical you, and we'll see if Clemson comes ready to play from a physical standpoint.
With all the rain expected all the way through, I guess starting on Friday and Saturday, supposed to be some rain that comes through the area. This might be a mutter, Gavin. Yeah. This might be a mutter. Clemson's got a guy, though, that can mud it around, too, and Travis Etienne. Yeah. I see Travis Etienne get 20-plus carries this week. I'm calling it now. I think it's going to happen.
Is this the one week after he just missed the 200-yard game, 192? Is this the week that he
gets it?
Gets that 200-yard to become the first Clemson back in Clemson history to have 3 different 200-yard rushing games? Maybe.
Yeah. He's pretty darn good. He's gotten better. 127 2 weeks ago, 192 last week, maybe 200 this week.
Yeah, and as one of the staffers told you, it's only a matter of time before it happens. Like you can count on it, right?
Yeah, they're counting on it. That's what
they're counting on it.
Maybe it is this week. We'll see. It'll be fun to see. I love seeing a good mutter.
Travis is definitely running hard and aggressive and angry since that North Carolina game. He's been a different dude, so he's coming on at the right time for Clemson.
You know what the best thing is about playing Boston College?
What's that?
They run the ball. Clemson runs the ball. Guess what happens?
Tick, 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 tick.
Quick game.
Maybe a night game. We could use that.
Yes, absolutely. So stay tuned to the Clemson Insider for the rest of the week. We'll have more coverage from Clemson Boston College and get you set for Saturday's game, 7:30 in the Valley.